Okay. Again, this is Guru Mike Schwartz welcoming everybody to the FMA and Malay Arts Chronicles. Today we have a guest from the Kombatan System in Guru John Malmo. How you doing, Guru Malmo?
I'm doing well.
I'd like to get started by hearing a little bit about your background, what initially drew you into the martial arts in general, and what was the major attraction for you? What brought you into martial arts?
Okay. Like a lot of guys, I started pretty young. Since I was born in the 70s, had the Bruce Lee craze. So just the movies, all the martial arts movies that were around during that time and stuff, I just absolutely fell in love with the martial arts and started with Taekwondo and different karate systems and, progressed from there.
And so you initiated your study with the system of Taekwondo, or was it another system of martial arts that you had some prominence in?
In the beginning, it was initially Taekwondo, and we did that for, I don't know, it seems like everybody's kind of got a background in that. And then we ended up doing, I think, 3 different systems of karate as well when I was growing up. And then by the time I was able to drive myself and, kind of choose what I wanted to do, that's where I started to find the Filipino Indonesian stuff. And that's, that's when my love just went, to a whole new level.
How far did you get within your more traditional systems of Taekwondo and within karate?
The Taekwondo, it was probably only probably about a blue belt or so, and then the karate systems, the highest rank I'd gotten in one of them, I think, was probably a red belt in Shotokan, and then I forget my rank in Ishinryu and Shoinryu. And really, they were just such brief moments, and in the early, being a kid, I don't, like a lot of guys, I don't recollect a whole lot.
Sure. And so what age did you actually start studying martial arts then? It was a very young age, is that correct?
Yeah. I started probably about 5. It was shortly after I turned 5, so this year would make 31 years for me, so I still got a long ways to go.
Outstanding. And so what was your initial introduction into the Filipino martial arts, and at what age did you begin studying the FMA?
The Filipino stuff came about, I met some guys that were training under Inosanto, Steve Todd, Harley Elmore, some guys like that were fortunate to be in my area. So we started doing the Jeet Kune Do and the, called the Eskrima. And from there, just kind of sought everything I could do to FMA and Silat and Kung Tao and just kind of built on that.
And did you progress within the Inosanto systems?
I did. I became forget the exact title at the time because there's so many different guys I trained with, but became an instructor in the Inosanto system and did that for a while. And while that was occurring, it was about the time that I met Ernesto Presos and started training with him and training with Uncle Willem Dutoir and guys like that, and just opened my eyes to a whole new world.
And so when you began studying with Grandmaster Ernesto Presos, did you move away at that time then from the Inosanto Lacoste Kali?
I did in some degree. I started doing more and more of the Kombatan, and the Kung Tao Silat and different things, and I just started really delving more into the Kombatan aspect. I've got a lot of respect for Ernesto and his system, and I saw a lot of things that I wasn't seeing elsewhere, and so I just really started to focus on that. I've always maintained the ties with the guys that I trained with, but I let a lot of that go by the wayside as far as my keeping up my instructorship and things.
And so, if you will, can you compare the differences within the system and what actually you noticed about Kombatan that made you want to make that your major study, if you will?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is just once you get accepted into the system, and once Ernesto feels comfortable with you, and you really start to see what's there, it's a really well put out system. It's very organized in the way that it's presented, which makes it kind of easy, to follow. And I know he did that, for a lot of reasons, to make it easy to spread worldwide. But just the in-depth nature of everything that he does, starting from the double stick, to the single stick, the empty hand, the Spadidaga, and the progression of each just builds on each other. It really helped me to find the keys between systems, and it filled in a lot of gaps, to know that, like he always says, it's already there, and to find that within yourself, and that's what he really helped me to do.
So the Kombatan system kind of tied all the ideas of all the and all the material from the other systems together for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Because with Inosanto, since he does so many different things, a lot of times, you're getting bits and pieces of the FMA, and you get Thai boxing, and you get, the shoot wrestling, and all these different things. With Ernesto, it was almost strictly Filipino in nature, so everything was coming from that background, which was nice because then I could put all those pieces together that I didn't have yet.
I understand. I can see that. Now, how does one progress as somebody who is somewhat, for lack of a better word, ignorant of the Kombatan system? How does the progression work within Kombatan, and where does one begin when one studies at the very, very basic level? Can you tell me a little bit about the techniques one initially learns and go through somewhat of a progression for us?
Sure. The beginning stages, we typically start with double stick, so that you can start to build up some of the ambidextrousness of the system with the Senewalis. And then we have a number of different systems with the double stick for defense and counter offense and things, and beginning the disarms, and just a lot of complexity that I haven't seen in other systems as far as the double stick. While you're doing that, obviously you're doing empty hand and you're doing other things, but that would be your initial start. From there, then you would move on to single stick, and it's a pretty quick progression, so that you're not really moving away from double stick, but you're adding to it. From there to empty hand, to knife, to Spadidaga, and then Dumag is thrown in there. So it kind of goes from stage to stage to stage, but it's always built within. You don't just jump and leave what you've already been doing.
So the structure is actually built upon a foundation, essentially, of double stick. Is that correct?
Yes, in the beginning, absolutely.
And so, as you said, the double stick allows you to progress and be more familiar with hand-to-eye coordination with both hands, ambidextrous maneuvers, as you indicated, and then building from that point forward. Now, at some point, I'm sure that it moves from beyond basic drills at say, like at the first level, onto actual defensive and offensive techniques, and the ability to move into sparring patterns and things of that nature. Is that correct?
Yes. Everything that we do is built on the idea that you're going to apply it in your sparring or in real life defense. So there's never this disconnect between what you're training in this drill to how you apply to how you would do it in sparring. It's all going to be the same unit. So that, say with Taekwondo, you learn these techniques, you learn your form, and then you spar, and none of the three ever seem to mingle. With the Kombatan, everything you're learning, you're going to apply just the way you're learning it. So when you're learning the disarms or the defenses, you apply them the same way you would in the drill. It's just a matter of timing and distance and things like that.
And with that, of course, that creates an ability to, Just need to clear my throat. I had a peanut in my throat. That part will definitely be cut out. I do apologize. Okay, but at any rate, with those particular double stick drills, then you are able to utilize those drills in sparring manipulation as well as in self-defense situations. Correct?
Correct. And then once you have that foundation, once you have those principles from the double stick, then it doesn't matter if you have single stick or empty hand or whatever, because it still applies. But that way, if you do have the two weapons or whatever, you're not kind of just sitting there doing Sinawali over and over and over again.
What length of a weapon do you begin with?
Application.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. What length of a weapon does Kombatan begin with?
Typically, our sticks are probably about 28, 30 inches, something like that. Everybody kind of has their own particular, but in general, we're around that length, and I think that's pretty consistent throughout the Kombatan world.
And so Kombatan is more of a long-range or a medium-range system, would you say?
Well, we do. Ernesto we train in the long range and the short range. He doesn't really see a distinction for medium range, because we're going to go from long range to short range in such a short amount of time that medium range basically doesn't exist, because we're crashing through it or we're breaking away from it. It's there, but we don't really address it that way. With the Inosanto stuff, we had long range, medium range, short range, and each, we addressed, for each. With the Kombatan, you see just the timing of it. But we go from long range to short range and back and forth, and it really depends on, the application and the need.
And then how does that translate directly to the single stick and to the knife and, of course, empty hand? Of course, as the weapon becomes shorter, the ranges, of course, also become shorter. And do you find it very easy to flow from a 28-inch stick to a 6-inch dagger or 12-inch dagger and an empty hand?
Absolutely, because what it's built on isn't the length of the weapon; it's the footwork. So if I had a 40-inch stick, my footwork is going to be the same. Just our range will be different. Just the same as if I have a 4-inch blade, my footwork is going to be the same. The range is still going to be slightly different. So the timing is the key there, so that when he attacks me with a knife, my footwork maintains. It's just how close we are from being in what I refer to as kissing range, because in the end, the knife still has a long range, and by that I mean I can touch you with a knife, you can touch me with a knife. In close range, I can get up and I can actually grab a hold of you and elbow you and all those other things. So it's the same, same with the stick. If I can hit you with the stick, but we can't hit a grapple, we're going in long range.
Now, with that in mind, how do you see the comparison between, say, Kombatan and modern Arnis, as system to system, side by side? Do you see similarities in the way the brothers had initially started teaching their systems?
I do. I see a lot of similarities in people that haven't trained with both or haven't experienced both. A lot of times may not pick up on a lot of the differences. One of the biggest is our focus in the beginning on the double stick. And Remy really liked a lot of the lock flows and things with the sticks. We have some of that, but we don't spend probably near as much time in the Kombatan system with that. We don't have such intricate counter-for-counter locking systems. In my own opinion anyway, what we have is more classical, more of the footwork, more understanding ranges, and that kind of thing.
Do you think that in some ways hinders one system or the other?
I really don't, because everybody's going to have have their own preference, their own what works for them sort of thing. What I think is important is just to train and find those similarities, and then see the differences and explore why they're there, and see what you can do to either overcome, adapt, or integrate that with what you do. I train with a lot of the modern IES guys, just to see what they do, and that's where I think it's important is, train with everybody, find out what we're doing the same, what we're doing different, and how we can better ourselves and each other.
Now, you've also spent some time within the Kombatan system, correct?
I did. I spent some time doing it mainly through seminars, just because nobody in the area, was teaching it. But we would go and train really anything and everything that Inosanto was promoting or was utilizing. That's what we would do. So I found a lot of good things that I liked about it. Some things that just weren't for me at the time, and maybe they would be for me now. It just for whatever reason, Ernesto has just kind of been a magnet to me, and that's where I've been focusing most of my time as far as the FMA.
How would you, in a similar light, how would you compare the Kombatan system with Kombatan?
Well, without having this in-depth knowledge of what they do, it would be hard for me to contrast. Just because I don't have their necessarily building blocks of foundation, because it was never like that in a seminar setting. You don't go in as a white belt or a beginner and then these are our white belt beginner techniques sort of thing. So it would be hard for me to judge that, just because I do have those building blocks from the Kombatan. Like I said, I do see a lot of the similarities in the flow, the devastating, being in close with the blade and those kind of things. Those are definitely present in both systems.
Do you feel that Kombatan is a competitive system? Do you see that it has the ability to compete within a tournament setting?
I personally do. I know a lot of the Kombatan guys that do not compete, and for whatever reason, everybody makes up their own minds. I think, unfortunately, a lot of guys get it in their head that this is for the street, and this is what it's real, and this isn't what it was for. And to a degree, I understand that. But at the same time, you can practice footwork, you can practice range, you can get out there and just meet new people. For me, and there's a few other guys in the Kombatan system that we're able to use it really, really well, especially the double stick. We're really hard to beat in a double stick competition, just because we spend so much time in that range.
So essentially, you feel, though, that there is a place for sport competitiveness within the stick systems.
I do, just because it helps everybody promote the FMA in general, and it makes a lot of friendships that might not have been there before. I'm not saying that the way some systems spar is going to translate to the street, because in my opinion it won't, but that doesn't mean that you can't go out there and have fun.
So you definitely don't feel that it's going to hinder the practitioner by competing with different systems?
I really don't, unless you are facing the tournament in a way that you have to change what you're doing so that it's no longer applicable. I'm not going to change the way that I compete, just because we're in the ring. If I lose because the rules say that I didn't compete the way they wanted me to, then I lose. But if I apply the way that I understand would work on the street and the way I understand it works in the system, then that's what I care about. Maybe the guy hits me 87 times that wouldn't have done crap to me on the street, and I hit him 4 times that I know would have dropped him. Well, in my book, that's good enough. And then at the end, we can shake hands and we get together and and discuss things and go, man, you hit really fast, or whatever the case may be.
So back to and I feel similar to your feelings as far as that goes. I think competition is natural within any sport, particularly within any contact art, such as Serrato or Kombatan or modern Arnis. And I think it's just the natural progression of things. So I don't think that it hinders. I think that it can be effective in some ways as long as one remembers the tradition behind how we learned the art in general.
Absolutely.
Now back to your progressions within Kombatan. At what level do you begin to learn do you begin to move, I should say, from double stick to single stick, and then to knife, and then to spotty daga and damag and so forth? Do you have to be at a certain level before you progress into those particular intricacies within your system, or are there certain parts of each particular, say, double stick, single stick, and knife drill that is within each level that you progress through before you move up in your level progressions?
It would be more of the latter. The way it's set up and the way that it's taught, realistically, somebody can get really good in the Kombatan or in the FMA in a really short amount of time. And it's because, we do the double stick, we do the single stick and stuff. And there's key elements that you need to know with each, but they easily translate to the next. So it's not like you're having to start over each time well, now we're doing knife stuff and I don't know what I'm doing. Well, that's not the case. You're already building the flow. You're already building the footwork. And once you have the flow, then it's really easy to transition, from one to the other. And that's where drills like the palad, the give and take, really make, is one of the keys of the Kombatan.
So at what time do you progress to a spotty daga? I mean, is there a spotty daga in your level 1 techniques?
It really, each instructor is given a lot of leeway as far as how they present the material and how they kind of rank students. We have guidelines and we have foundations. We have these building blocks. But each student is going to be, everybody learns at a different pace. Everybody's going to pick up things differently. So a lot of my students, I might jump them right into a spotty daga just because that's what my other guys are working on. So I don't really ever see it as you have to know this first because they're going to learn it all in the end anyway. So, if you know 2 plus 2, then it doesn't matter, if we're doing 8 plus 8. It's the same concepts.
So there is standardization, or there is not a standardized methodology to the teaching within Kombatan?
There is, but it's more based on each instructor's understanding of the material. We all have a curriculum that that says this is these are the techniques, these are movements, these are the things that white belt needs to know, or yellow belt, or whatever whatever ranking the guy wants to use. We aren't really dictated on belt colors or rankings that we have to use. We've given some broad guidelines of, this is kind of what we would like. In the end, we all see a Lacan, a black belt, as the same sort of standard. You have to know this, 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 and this, and this to be a black belt. Underneath that rank, I think a lot of us really could care less as far as how, if we go white, yellow, green, blue, or whatever the case may be. But you're going to have those foundations from the double stick, from the single stick, from the knife, from the empty hand, to progress.
So Kombatan is not necessarily taught then as an individualized art, but it is an art that can be or would be added to another system?
It absolutely could be something that you supplement or that you add to, or vice versa. For me, since I've done so many different things, it was something that was adding to what I already had, and then I took the time to learn the system, to learn the white belt techniques, to learn all these things that that make it what it is, because it can stand on its own, or it can be used to make what you do, make what you do already better.
And how many angles of attack does Kombatan have within it?
It depends on the system. Because the Grandmaster did so many different systems, we have multiple angling systems that can be used based on what we're teaching. The Espadidaga has a certain number. The double stick has, certain numbers, whether it's a 24 count or a 12 count. Single stick, if we're doing the Harada system, or if we're doing Sonketi system, or if we're doing more of the modern Arnis approach, each one of those has their own angling system. So in order to learn the entire system, like what I've done and some of the other guys have done, you have to learn a lot of different angling systems. And that's, I don't know, in a way it's beneficial. Because you really have to want it, and like I said, the double stick, we have 24 counts, and we have 12 counts, and we have different counts based on what we're applying.
So you have several systems then within the system of Kombatan, is what you're saying?
Absolutely. We've got because each of the subsets. Say from single stick, the single stick is made from the Harada system and the Sonketi system and the Abanico system, the Domiti system. So each one of those has its own angling system. Each one of those has its own concepts. Each one of those has their own flavor of flow and footwork. And so you learn all of it as part of Kombatan, and it makes life really fun because you get to learn so much.
Now, have you done any work with Grandmaster Fred Lazo?
I did. I got to work with him a few times, not nearly enough. A really great guy. His Palis is, phenomenal. Just the way he can move and just a really, really nice guy. I don't like to work out with guys that are egotistical, bowed out chest, and that was never the case with him, and obviously never the case with Ernesto.
And have you worked at all with Grandmaster Roberto Presas?
I have not. I met him one time, but we never, it was during a training camp, so for Ernesto, and I never got to do anything with him. I've seen some of the videos and things, but I've never had any first-hand experience.
Have you ever worked with any of his students within the Hinagaran Arnis Tamano system?
Off the top of my head, that I can't really say that I have, and if I have, I apologize, but I don't remember it.
You said you have seen some of his system on video.
Yes.
How would you compare, since you've worked with modern Arnis as well as Kombatan? How would you compare the three systems? How would you compare the How would you compare Grandmaster Roberto Presas' Arnis system with modern Arnis as well as with Kombatan?
My overall impression from what I've just seen is that he tends to be more classical in nature, and doesn't do a lot of the grabbings and the holdings and the lockings that you see in the modern Arnis and in the Kombatan. He utilizes, the key elements that were given to him from Sonketi and different things, and uses it like it's a blade, So reaching out and grabbing the stick like we do in the modern Arnis and the Kombatan, I don't see it as much in what he does.
So he actually treats the system more as strictly a bladed system as opposed to a stick end blade system.
In my impression, that's what I see in his movements and in his footwork and his angling. We definitely in the Kombatan system we view things as stick and as blade independently, so that there are techniques that you obviously have to modify if you're doing up against going up against a bolo. And just like with the modern arnis, a lot of times with the grabbings and the holdings and the controlling of the stick, you have to modify what you're doing if it's a bolo, just because you don't want you to get your hand cut off.
Of course, of course. As far as your development within the system of Kombatan, what is your present ranking at this time, and how long have you been with Ernesto?
Right now, I'm 7th degree. There's rumors that I'm going to be promoted to 8th degree come next April. That's my understanding. I've been with Ernesto going probably, somewhere between 15 and 20 years, something like that. And one of the nice things was that he kind of accepted me in without, saying, you're a beginner, because I had previous experience, I had previous skills, and, obviously could move and flow from the other things I did. So he always treated me like a black belt within his system, even though I'd never tested.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I ever tested with him was in 2001 in the Philippines, and that was a huge honor because I didn't expect it, and
And have you worked at all with Grandmaster Max Palin or Grandmaster Tim Hartman or any of the other modern arnis contemporaries?
I'm sorry, did you say Max Palin?
That's correct, yes.
Yes. I actually I brought Max out in 2004. I held a tournament and a training camp, and I brought Max out, and I brought Uncle out and some other guys, and so I got to spend some time with Max, not nearly what I would like to. I talked to him quite a bit, just from the My FMA site, and we did play some with the counter for counter and the free flow, and then I kind of asked him to do some spotty dogga and different things for me, because a lot of people see him do their tournament system,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes they don't see his flow and don't see the spotty dogga techniques and things that he has, and it was nice to see that, because it's real similar to what we do, the same sort of flow and moving, without the emphasis on padding and armor and things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, your spotty dogga system as well as Max Palin, is that similar to what would be numerato in other systems?
In a lot of ways, yes. The spotty dogga that we tend to do, we kind of tend to prefer to have a right lead and maintain that, or a sword lead or stick lead, and rather than stepping with the left foot like a lot of the techniques and movements from the Inosanto system, where we would hit with the stick and step and stab with our left, and then progress back and forth with footwork. A lot of times with the Kombatan, we get our position and we maintain that position, and we control the guy from there, rather than trying to chase him around the room or collapse on him. We use that position to draw him in or take his space without moving.
Have you ever had the opportunity to work with Professor Dan Anderson or Datu Tim Hartman or Kelly Warden?
I have not. Me and Tim have met, and we've talked a couple times. We met out in California earlier this year. We were teaching at Robert Castro's school, and I've never got to cross hands with him. I've seen him obviously and seen his stuff on YouTube, and got to see him in person. But as far as crossing hands, we haven't got to do that yet.
Mm-hmm. In the future, well, actually, let me get back to something you had mentioned a little bit earlier, that you had, of course, continued conversation with Professor Max Palin via myfma.net. Can you tell me, being the founder of that particular community organization, how did you decide to bring that about, and what was the impetus or the reason for doing that?
Well, I've always felt like the Filipino martial arts is a huge family, more so than a lot of other things that I've done. It seems like everybody seems to know each other. You've got the brothers that are fighting, or the sisters that don't like each other, and the moms and dads that don't get along. But in general, we're all, one big family. We all come from the same sort of foundations and ideas and principles. So I wanted to kind of bring everybody together, rather than all the bickering and backfighting that you found on some websites that don't exist anymore, and kind of show FMA in a positive light, rather than well, those guys are always arguing with each other, and they're just a stick art and nobody carries a stick, and give the guys that know what the hell they're talking about a chance to show the world that FMA is a lot more than just carrying around a stick.
So true, so true. And I know for myself, as well as for our organization in the WSEF, we greatly appreciate the site because it has given us an opportunity to reach out to others that have similar interests to us. Now, you had said also that you had spent some time, not to get off track of the myfma.net site, but I wanted to also track what you had said in regards to Uncle Bill, working with Uncle Bill. Do you have experience within Silat as well?
Absolutely. Again, going back to the Inasanta Foundation, he was with Pendekar Paul and Herman Sawanda and guys like that. And through that, I started training with those guys. And then, everybody's heard of the Tuar brothers. And, I heard about Uncle and heard about what he could do and different things. And so meeting him, and I met him around the same time that I met Ernesto. So I've been with Uncle Bill about 20 years now, and just the phenomenal nature of his Kung Tao Silat has helped me tremendously, again, to build keys and find similarities, whether it's FMA or whatever, and see that there's so much in-depthness to what all of us do. And then through the connections with him, getting to know guys like Daniel with his Intiambak Pajak Salat, and just the more and more exposure to different arts. I'm all about learning as much as possible. I don't feel like I have to stick, in one system and this is it, and that's all it's ever going to be. And it's not because I don't think Kombatan's not the greatest or whatever. I just love everything.
So you have been with Uncle Bill and his Salat or his Kung Tao system, I should say, for you say about 20 years. You've achieved some ranking within that particular system then as well, correct?
Correct. I'm a recognized teacher in the system, and like a lot of other guys in the system, we don't really, that's not why we train with him. Everybody knows that he's not big on wallpaper, and sometimes he just gives it out just to give it out, and sometimes he plays games, and the guys that have been with him a while know that we're just there to learn and train and have a good time.
I see. So regardless of any ranking or any possible ranking, you still remain a student of his because of the system and what he teaches.
Absolutely.
Now, do you regularly see or train with Uncle Bill as well?
I would love to see him more. Unfortunately, I don't get to see him a whole lot. A big part of my exposure from Uncle would be with Steve Todd, who's also from the Arkansas area. He was a huge influence on not only myself but on guys that I've met, because he was always good to bring in guys, to the area, but bring Uncle in, bring Ernesto in, and and then I was able to follow in that suit, bring Uncle and Ernesto and different guys here. And I've trained with a lot of the guys that, we all kind of seem to run in the same circles. Shelly Millspa is also with Uncle, also with Ernesto. So we all kind of, hang out together and exchange ideas and get to know, everything that we're doing.
In the future, where do you see yourself beyond today, beyond myfma.net, and where do you see taking the community to, as well as yourself on a personal level?
I'm really proud of the fact of what myFMA has done. I've been pleasantly surprised at how many guys have been willing to reach a hand out to each other, and make friendships, regardless of system, and even in some cases where there was bad blood before, guys just kind of got together. And so if I can just continue in that light of helping bring that together, not because I'm some great, teacher or great person, just because I'm open to everybody. I try to get along with everybody and, help everybody else, because in the end it benefits all of us. It doesn't do any of us any good to, come across as pricks that don't like each other.
So true. So very true, very true. There have been a lot of politics within the Filipino martial arts, as well as within the Indonesian or Malay martial arts as well, and sometimes that's difficult to get away from. Very difficult to get away from.
Yes.
And you, on a personal level, you had said that presently you're a 7th degree black belt in the Kombatan System. Is that correct?
Correct.
In the future, say 5, possibly 10 years from now, where do you see that yourself developing within Kombatan, as well as your career as a possible grandmaster within Kombatan?
Well, as I said, my understanding is the rumors are I'll get my 8th degree, which is the beginning grandmaster level in the Kombatan come April. And my understanding is it will be the last time that Ernesto himself will be giving out rank. From there, he's kind of going to send us all on our way to do what we will and promote how we see fit. He's got, in his son John, he's got a great successor if that's the decision to be made. I just want to continue and train. I love to learn as much as I can. And so as many guys that, I can come across and cross hands, and all the better for me.
Do you ever see yourself or promoting yourself on a seminar circuit, or developing a curriculum of your own for a system of your own?
Actually, I have, and I do teach things that are my own, or what I consider my own, based on my own experiences from the CLAT and the FMA and the different things. Just a kind of a more structured way of presenting it. But in the end, it's all about developing that flow, developing the ability to move and transition without stopping and going, okay, what do I do next? Just freaking move. I have to tell my guys that all the time. Well, what do I do next? Just freaking move. Hit him again. I would love to do more seminars because I like to meet so many different people. And I think the seminar circuit is a great way to kind of go out and see everybody that's out there. And it's not necessarily to promote myself, because that's not what I'm about. If people can pick up things from what I'm doing and pick up things from my system, or from Kombatan or the Kuntasila, then great. But I just want to get out there and meet guys and cross hands and share experiences.
With the ongoing development and the ongoing popularity of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, do you at some point see any time when the weapons could enter the ring into an Ultimate Fighting scenario?
Realistically, I don't think it'll happen. I just don't see legislation allowing it to happen. And if it did, I think it would be so regulated that it would be padded sticks with armor that you couldn't move in, and be dumbed down so much that it wouldn't resemble what any of us do anymore. So in some ways, MMA has been good for promoting martial arts, but in a lot of other ways, it really doesn't promote martial arts. It promotes a sport of combat that may or may not go with ethics and culture.
Understood. Sure, and I can certainly understand that. Again, it would be very difficult to get past an athletic commission, any state athletic commission, to to begin to see in a public nature, even in an amateur venue, much less a professional venue.
Right. And in my personal opinion, a lot of times it's better to be out of the light of government. Because if the government gets involved in what we all love, then maybe they tell us we can't train with sticks anymore, or whatever the case may be, and try to squash. So in a lot of ways, I prefer to be out of the limelight as far as that's concerned.
Sure. And has Grandmaster Ernesto made any comment in regards to the future of his system since modern arnis has been passed in the Filipino Congress as the national martial art?
I haven't spoken to him in regards to that per se, so I really wouldn't have a good answer for you. I'm sure that Alex France or somebody like that might have more information on it.
And do you feel that if it becomes a sport that would be initiated or would be introduced into the Olympic Games, do you think it would be dumbed down a great deal in comparison to what it is today? And that, by that I mean, do you feel that the Filipino martial arts as a competitive, in a competitive situation, would be dumbed down a great deal, somewhat in regards, similarly, the way the World Taekwondo Federation took away a great deal of the street effectiveness of Taekwondo as a whole?
I do in a lot of regards. I think the benefit is that it was the Filipino government that passed legislation recognizing it, and so the rest of the world's going to have a hard time saying you can't do this, you can't do that, when the Filipinos can say this is our culture, this is what we do, this is how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
With any competitive nature, it's going to be stripped down somewhat. They're going to have to, just for everybody's safety and for insurance and for whatever else, there always has to be that protection, because we don't want to get in the ring, get in the cage, get in the ring or whatever, and kill somebody just to show off our skills. That I don't think any of us want that.
Of course.
So.
Well, it's been great speaking with you, John. I've wanted to speak to you for quite some time, and unfortunately we just haven't had the time or the right schedule to do so. Finally today we have. And I'd like to let everyone know how it's best to get in touch with you if they have any questions for you, how to get a hold of you for seminars or for material that you may have, and what would be the best way for them to do that.
Okay, sure. Probably the best way is through the myfma.net site, just because I spend so much time there and get so much communication there. I try to answer all my emails pretty quickly and my phone calls. If I don't answer, just leave me a message. But they can find my contact information, my phone number, everything on myfma.net.
Okay, fantastic. John, Guru John Malmo, again, we thank you. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I hope to speak to you in the near future again.
Me too.
Take care.
Take care.